play for a team that's won the FA Cup. It's amazing.
Come on, boys, write your names into history. Just fucking score. Simple. Oh, there we go. Lacani whips it in. Oh, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. And on his debut for the first team.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Front Row Seats. Today we're joined by Club Secretary Mark, who works for Wanderers FC. Welcome, Mark.
Thanks for having me, guys.
No worries. Owen, welcome as always.
How are we doing, guys? I hope you're all well.
Oh, good. First of all, Mark, how you been coping with the lockdown situation?
It's been good, actually. So I'm a teacher, so I've been creating lessons and shoving them out to the kids and having a bit of free time I wouldn't normally have to do some exercising. Doing lots of stuff for the club as well. So yeah, it's been personally, it's been quite good. And I know I'm in a very lucky situation. There are lots of people having a much more difficult time of it. But I think it's one of these things where people say that out of every crisis comes up an opportunity for people, and I hope that the majority, at least, of people can look at what's happened across the world and sort of try and take something positive for themselves out of it. So yeah, you sort of look at it and as a with kind of hope, I think, and a positivity. So, I mean, the impact on the club has been pretty tough because obviously we're not playing football, as you know, and we can't train, we can't play. We've lost out on a lot of income, but we'll get through it. And it's we're lucky that we're not some of the kind of clubs that have a bigger kind of outlay that are really going to struggle. Certainly in the world of football.
Yeah, fair enough, man. Well, that's good to hear. Let's talk right at the beginning before none of us were even here. The club was founded originally as the Forest Football Club, am I right in saying, in 1859?
Yeah.
Yeah. But you changed its name in 1864. Do you know any reasons why that was changed?
Yeah, so as far as the records, as you can imagine, are quite vague.
Yeah.
So, but as far as we understand it, there was the two brothers, Charles and John, who were playing as part of the team Forest in Epping Forest, Leytonstone Way, so East London. And there was a bit of a falling out. So the two brothers didn't know whether they I think John wanted to say, let's put some roots down here, maybe do a deal with it was a farmer who owned the land near to an orphanage. They said, let's do a deal and we can set up a team here and we'll play our matches and it'll be great. Whereas Charles was saying, no, I want us to be like this cricket club I know called Butterflies, and they travel around the country playing whoever they want, and it's basically a bit like, I don't know if you know, in rugby, the Barbarians, you get all the best players to go on and play other teams, right? So he had this vision of the club spreading the world of the word of football around the country.
Yeah.
And they fell out about that. But also, John Alcock had a divorce, which nowadays, so what? But back, the 19th century, it was quite
pretty
controversial.
serious.
So so it was a bit of a falling out. And what happened, if you follow the match records, they obviously split, and Charles took some of the players and they went and played at Battersea Park for a few matches before going to the Oval, because he got elected as I think he was secretary of Surrey Cricket Club, so he had access to what has become International Cricket Stadium.
Yeah.
Whereas John took some of the players and they played in parallel for a bit, but then after a few years, Forest faded away, and it became clear that Wanderers were the kind of predominant version of the two.
Cool.
Especially they kind of carried on that success and that involvement with the FA, because Forest were a founder member of the FA, but then consistently over time, a load of Wanderers players end up being on the committee and in different roles and so on. So,
yeah. Fair enough. And obviously, we were the first FA Cup winners, am I right in saying?
Yeah.
And they won it 5 times out of the first 7 times, which is pretty dominant to say that, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, what I love is how it's so different to today. As you know, there'll be thousands of teams around the country who've got the opportunity to play in the FA Cup, which is incredible, right? The first FA Cup was only 15 teams, and Wanderers were drawn against Queen's Park from, I'm going to say Edinburgh, Glasgow, can't remember, sorry.
Yeah.
And they had to come down to play at the Oval for the semi-final. So obviously, beneficial to Wanderers, it was a home tie, 0-0. They said, such is life. Let's have a replay next week. So Queen's Park said, yeah, but do you know how much it costs to travel? This is awful. It's taken us a week.
Yeah, of course.
It's mad. So they just said, look, let's we can't play that game, so they forfeited. So Wanderers only got through to the final because of that. I think there was also an earlier match where there was a draw, so the FA went, well, both teams go through, it's fine, which I think was against Crystal Palace, the old Crystal Palace. But in 1873, this is my favourite one. So because Wanderers won the first one, it was a bit like Eurovision. Well, you won it, so you get to decide when and where it is. Yeah. So they said, okay, cool. That's not a problem. We'll deal with that. As they got closer to the kind of, they would have like quarter-final, semi-final, final, right? And then if you won the final, then you played Wanderers because they were the holders. So it was like the winner stays on kind of thing.
Yeah.
And, Oxford University were drawn as won the final. So Wanderers decided, oh, no problem, we'll put it on. I think it was April or March. And they said, we'll put it this date and we'll play it at, God, where was it? I forgot what it's called now. But basically, they played near where Earls Court train station is. And Oxford said, we can't do that day. It's the same day as the boat race. All of our, supporters, if you like, are all going to be at the boat race. Oh.
That's a shame.
Shame, isn't it? It's a shame, yeah. Oh. And it's a bit far to make both. You can't really do the boat race in the morning and go to the match. Oh, that's a nightmare. You have to really shame. So they basically stitched it up a little bit, which is totally unfair. But then after winning it, they, I can't remember who it was, but one of the Wanderers players suggested, look, let's not do this rule anymore. This challenge cup idea is a bit harsh. So, yeah, I understand why they kind of got rid of it.
And obviously it folded in 1887. Were there any reasons behind that? Because obviously, they had such good success before that. What made them fold?
Well, I think if you've seen the show The English Game on Netflix, I don't know if you've seen that. That sort of tells the story of the years in between, kind of Wanderers being successful in the cups and the start of the Football League. And what was happening, and you'll see that it's not the perfectly most accurate representation of it, but it's quite useful. It shows that in the north, you had quite a lot of factories that were, that was the kind of the hotbed of industry in Britain, right?
Yeah.
And the people who were there would play football. But what would happen is if you played football on, let's say they played on a Sunday, because what would happen is you'd work Monday to Saturday, they'd go to church in the morning, and then Sunday afternoon they would play football. So they play football in the afternoon, get absolutely beaten black and blue, come in on Monday like hobbling about, and the gaffer's like, what's going on? Oh, we played football, got head kicked. So there was two bits of two approaches from a lot of the factory owners. They were like, look, we can't have our workers injured, so we'll make it like we'll give you like Saturday afternoon off to play football, okay? And then so this is the problem with being in lockdowns. You can't see what's coming. So the factory owners, I said, go and play on Saturdays, and then you'll be fine for Sunday and so on. And some of them said, actually, if we have our own team, we can start charging people to come and watch and make a bit of money out of it. So in the north, there was this whole professionalisation, if you like. So they started paying players illegally, as you'll see. So in the English game, players come from Scotland, right? Well, in Scotland, they're used to playing on big, expansive space, like they were in the north. So that's where the sort of passing and kicking and running and heading game developed. Whereas in the south, it was all still very, very strictly amateur, because obviously the only people who could afford to, play football and train and so on didn't have to work.
Yeah.
So in the south, a lot of the schools where these kind of posh boys came from, they didn't really like football. They had rugby, they had cricket, all this other stuff, and they didn't really like football. When they saw it was getting really popular, they started their own alumni team. So you have like Old Etonians, Old Harrovians, Old Wickhamists, all the public schools are these old boys teams, right? So all the players that used to come and join Wanderers could now either go and earn a living in the north, which I don't think very many of them did, to be fair, or they could go and play for their school team. So obviously that meant that these teams had like a conveyor belt of players coming in, whereas Wanderers didn't. So I think essentially because the environment changed, Wanderers kept going until 1887 because they played like an annual friendly against Harrow School where Charles and John had been. So there was like a link. But it just sort of faded away, unfortunately. And a lot of the big names who'd been kind of heroic, goal scorers or cup winners for the club also retired. So it got to that point where they were like, well, there's no real point, which is a real shame. And that's kind of, that sort of fading away into obscurity is partly why we wanted to bring it back to life.
Yeah,
like,
of course.
that makes me go to the next point. Like, we can skip forward to 2009. Where did this all come about to like get the club back? You know, reform. Where did that idea come about?
Well, there was, I don't even, it's really, again, history, there was no historical records of this because it was so like minor, but it was like I was on an email list when we used to play Thursday night kickabout or something in the Westway, so in West London, under the flyover. And it was like 7-a-side, it was all fun and games. Then we moved it for some reason to Kennington. So we're playing on this awful sandy Astro at Kennington. It's still awful, right? The council
No one
tells
likes a
us
Sandy Ashtray.
oh man, yeah, it's like you go to bed, you wake up in the morning, you're trying to peel the bed off, and you've got like taps your leg. Oh, it's horrible. But we played there, and it was like let's say it was Wednesday kickabout or something. And the two guys that were running it, one of them said, "Oh, look, I'm moving to Singapore, so I can't do it anymore." One guy said, "I've got to stop because I've got to plan my own wedding. So can someone take it over?" And I was like, "Oh, how hard can it be?" So I took the email list and sent it out, and you get, who's available this week? Yeah. And you'd have 14 players paying a £5 each. This is when pitches were only 35 quid for an hour, which is nothing like that now. So you're thinking, well, we've got a reasonable team here. It's like 35 quid, goes to the pitch, 35 quid goes to me. Well, I can't retire on that. I can't make a living on that. What can I do with it? So we decided to give it to charities. We started working with UNICEF. And after a few months, I guess this was like February, let's say. So it got to middle of the year, and some of the guys were like, "This is all right. We're not bad. We should start a team." I was like, "Okay, all right, cool." So I googled, football teams in Kennington, and all that came up was Wanderers. So I started looking into it. I was like, "This is bizarre. Like, where's this team gone?" And I found the great granddaughter of John Alcock on a family history genealogy website. Right?
Yeah.
So wow. I basically got in touch with, "Oh, you related to John Alcock?" Yeah, I'm his great granddaughter. Okay. I said, "Well, we're interested to start this team up again. Would that be a problem? Would you be okay with that?" And she said, "Oh, fantastic. You've got our blessing. Happy to help." We contacted the London FA, and I said, "Look, we want to do this, but my worry is in 1887 they had, a couple of shillings and pence they owed you, and compound interest means we start up and you say, oh, by the way, there's a bill for you, it's 6.2 million."
Cool.
So yeah, it was a bit of a worry. They were like, no, fine, go for it. You got no debt here. We support you. So we thought, okay, well, let's start it off. So I just emailed all of the clubs that Wanderers had played during their FA Cup campaigns to see who would respond. And Oxford University were the first one that got back to us and said, "Oh, you should come up to us. Come and play at our little stadium, at Iffley Road Stadium, where Roger Bannister broke the 4-minute mile in the 50s. And it's this nice little grandstand with a running track going around it and a pitch in the middle. So we got a train up together and a little minibus to drop us off. And this is lovely. We're playing the old boys, a bunch of like 40 to 50-year-old guys plodding about. It would be really nice. What turned up was like the Oxford University Blues, like first team, 20 years old, all of them ripped. And you were like,
oh no.
What? Yeah.
What are we in for?
We got destroyed. It was 11-1. We had a goalkeeper who was a county level rugby player, but never played football before. We had a Scotsman, an Englishman, and a Norwegian, who neither of which had particularly good grasp of English. Not a bad team, like on paper, but this has been our first ever game. So
yeah,
I played with two of the guys before, and that was it. The rest were just like friends of friends or on this email list or whatever. And yeah, it was very one-sided. But the great thing was, this is kind of the spirit of the club, is that afterwards everyone was like, "That was brilliant. We should definitely do that again." You're like, "Do you know what the score was? Were you even paying attention?"
Yeah, just not bothered at all. Like,
yeah, completely. Like the atmosphere and the kind of the excitement of the event was better than the result. And I think of course, that was the spirit we liked. You know what I mean? And that's not necessarily always the same. Like now, obviously, results are more important in certain circumstances than it would be just having a great time and everyone having cheesy chips in the pub afterwards. But that sort of set us up, and we had a brilliant time. We couldn't have done it really without just essentially chancing our arm and sending a couple of emails and seeing what happened. So
yeah,
fair enough. And obviously, like when we skipped like bit close to our time, you get back-to-back 3 times promotions. Am I right in saying?
Yeah, so we had a real golden era. Our first season, I remember our first game. So this was 2011 maybe. Our first game was at a pitch called Bel Air Park in West Dulwich, right? Like, like fine, good, really nice change rooms. Pitch was fine. We've turned up. Didn't know that they didn't provide nets or corner flags or anything. You just had to bring your own.
Yeah.
So we're like, oh, okay. So we had to basically ring around. Found there was a guy next door. I think it was the guy. It was South Bank Quacko next door, and we borrowed their nets. And the guy, look, you just leave it. I'll come pick it up afterwards. Right? We had. I didn't know everyone was going to turn up. I basically picked a squad of like 17 because I was like, you never know what's going to happen. So I'd like 2 or 3 players said, listen, lads, I didn't realise everyone's actually going to turn up. So you're not going to play. Just you have to watch. And we got beaten badly, and it was baking hot. Everyone was dying on their arse. It was a shambles. And that first season was a real like baptism of fire because it was actually quite a good standard that we went into, which is the bottom level in South London, pretty much in Saturday League anyway. But then the next season we were much better, and I think that was the season we came second on goal difference. And it was such a good contest against a team called Norton. Then that was Junior Division 4. Div 3 we won it and we had to rearrange some matches to make it happen. But we had to our last game of the season was like a Sunday afternoon or something. And I bought this big banner that had on one side of it champions and the other side going up, because I was like, we're definitely going up, but I don't want to jinx it by buying this banner. And you're like,
Smart,
That's very smart, though.
yeah. And then the next season we got promoted. I think we finished like 4th, but teams above us didn't want to go up or what have you. There's our level is very subjective, and I think that's probably for the best. So I know that we've had rivals and their teams, they've dropped down at 3 leagues. We've lost a bunch of players. And I think from my perspective, that's something we probably should have done, because having won those promotions, we knew that the players we had in that first team were getting to the end of their sort of, or getting to the level they were at. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There was a few who could probably have gone higher, but not with us. And there was a few who probably, passengers at times, me included in that team. But together it worked. And that meant that we sort of thought we need to bring in some new players. So we ended up bringing in a load of new players. We ended up with 2 teams, at one point even 3 teams for half a season. But we ended up over the course of 12 months. So if you imagine the 3 seasons we got promoted, the season after that, we lost 44 players in 12 months. So
wow.
For most clubs, that's the end of the club.
Yeah.
But we're at most clubs, luckily. So we had enough in the tank to keep going. So we kept on with 2 teams. We've still got 2 teams now. So, but to lose that number of players in such a short space of time is a bit of a blow. And I think we're now, touch wood and all that, but I think we're kind of through that. We've now got a pretty good pair of squads for the men's team and the women's team, where there's like cores in both that are really stable. And I think that is a great thing that gives a chance to try and go for another promotion or go for another cup run or what have you. So that's encouraging.
And how was you doing up to, obviously, until the season was scrapped? How was you doing this season?
It's really hard to say, because we got relegated and then not relegated, because the league restructured and we ended up somehow staying in Junior Division 1. So like, okay, we finished. I think we finished. The league itself is normally between like 10 and 14 teams. It's not particularly big, which is I think a bit of a shame. But I know that there's limitations because of pitches and so on. So we finished, I think, 3rd bottom and 2nd bottom the last 2 seasons. It's been poor, but we've had the same players as we have now, and we finished up. I think they did a points per game decision, which I think is a very sensible one, considering over 60% of the games have been played for most teams. And we ended up, I think, 3rd or 4th. So we had we were at one point we were top, but at one point we were 2nd. We were competitive and like doing really, really well. And I think it's a shame, not because we would have missed out on some miraculous success, but because the players are really building a strong squad. I think for the 2s, that you don't have that consistency, and that's maybe why it's not been so good for them. Whereas the women's team is another story. So they were in the junior, they're in Greater London Women's Football League, Division 3 South, which is the bottom level. And for the last 3-4 seasons, they finished bottom or 2nd bottom. This season, 2nd. Like genuinely, they lost, for example, there's a team called Peckham Town, and we turned up one time with 10 players, no manager, 2 of the girls get injured in the warm-up, one of them's boyfriend is doing the line, and after they scored like 11, it was 20-0, right? They were still setting off pyros. They were having like,
Oh my God.
like really aggressive in your face kind of celebration.
Yeah.
You're like,
Yeah.
girls, you're against 8 players. What do you want?
Yeah,
So,
there's not much going on there.
yeah, it's so unnecessary. And we've turned it around. So those sort of results don't happen now. So we've played teams where they've got, like Peckham Town, they've got semi-professional sides. So like Hampton and Richmond Borough, Sutton United, like a good level semi-professional team. We're playing their women's teams who obviously have got the benefit of the physios, the kit staff, the sponsors, blah, blah. And we have none of that. And they were holding their own. It was really, really good. And it ended up being, one of our top scorers has been snapped up by a team higher than us. A couple of the players have realised that actually that they're really good at this, and they've moved on to higher levels. So that's the real success story for us this year is in the women's team, I think.
Fair enough. Going to the men's team, how many tiers are you down from like the actual football league? How many? Do you know how many tiers it is?
Yeah, I always go that we're 13 promotions away from the Premier League, because that kind of puts it in context, doesn't it? I think if you look at the country, that pyramid starts off quite narrow and goes,
it expands out so quickly like that.
Yeah, and also I think what people don't recognise, especially when because I speak to a lot of media from other countries sometimes, and you tell them about English football and they go, "Oh yeah, I know about English football." No, you know English football in the Premier League.
Yeah.
But when it gets down to amateur level, they understand that in London alone, not only have you got the pyramid we all know that leads into the Premier League, but you've got 2 parallel. You've got the Southern Amateur League on one side, which is maybe 20 clubs each with about 7 or 8 teams, and the other side you've also got the Amateur Football Combination, which has again something like 20 leagues of 16 teams a league, clubs with 10 teams rather. So there's all of this and they can't feed up into anything. They just they cap out, if you like. But there's this huge pool of players and teams that are sharing what is essentially a really limited resource in terms of both players and personnel, but also pitches. So yeah, we're a little bit way off, but we're putting in place a few plans, hopefully, touch wood, that will help us get up those levels.
Yeah, I mean,
of course.
Have you got anything else? Was you going to say something?
No, I was just saying how brilliant that is that you guys are like, you've gone from like literally just a kick around midweek to now putting in plans to try and boost your way up the pyramid, and it's just a great story to hear.
But I think it's one of those things where initially we started out being like, well, how far can we go before we get found out? Like, how far can we go before someone goes, these guys aren't for real? You don't have, a physio, you don't have undersoil heating, you haven't got floodlights. What are you? It's all this kind of stuff. And then the other part of it is this like labour of love of like, well, actually, we're doing loads of things to help players and people get together and socialise and improve their football. And then that's kind of the core that expands out into the wider community. And actually, you realise how important it is that a football club can do more than just be a kickabout. Like you said, you're right, Owen. It starts off with something small and grows. And then I think rather than being that small thing that grows into something else, and that's where you kind of find your limits, you start thinking, well, okay, if this keeps growing, where do we go from here? Like, how big could this thing really be?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I was looking on your website yesterday. I loved the aim you've got to get into the FA Cup by the 2031-32 season, which will be the 150th anniversary. I just think that is a perfect story from winning it back in the day to now trying to get in there. How's that coming on? Is that so far looking okay? I
think it's one of those things where you sort of set yourself a target that's still quite far off, so you haven't really got to think about it. The kind of steps we have to get through, aside from the obvious ones on the pitch that are getting better players, getting promoted, or developing the players we've got into a team that can compete, 3-4 levels higher than us. Having our own home ground has been a huge thing. So we've now got a pitch in Upper Norwood in South London, and that first step was, can we get a contract in place that gives us some security of tenure? Yes. Okay. Can we play some games there? Yes. Will the pitch stand up to more than 4 games in a row? No. So we know we've got to develop the pitch so it can be more durable. We know we've actually got to develop changing room facilities, because it's a girls' school, so they've got one changing room, but it's the best in the league. It's amazing. You've got little shower cubicles in the changing area. You've got a load of cubicles, a load of sinks. Like it's huge because it's meant to take, 30, 14-year-old girls getting changed to go and do PE. So it's the facilities are there. But for us, we need, an away changing room. We need a match official changing room. So we've gone from doing a crowdfunding that was essentially to get the pitch to a level where we can play matches on there. So we've got our, we've got adult goals, we've got a kids pitch. We've, put some soil and grass and seed down, and we've built a kiosk so we can sell stuff and put some footballs in storage and what have you. But we now need to go to the next step, beyond that. So we need to think about our facilities. We also need to think about developing our routes. So that's both in terms of growing the fan base, offering more, giving more back. So we did our first free kids coaching sessions over the last summer, and we really want to do it again. Easter holidays didn't happen because of the coronavirus. Wanted to do it for summer, so we'll see if we can. We had like 20, 25 kids turn up over a few days, and we just did free sessions. We're like, look, parents love it because they just drop the kids off and we can do our sessions. And it helps our players develop as coaches. We didn't do it to generate money like a lot of other companies and clubs do. It was a case of, the people that we've encountered have been really welcoming, invited us into their local area. The least we can do is show some kind of gratitude, Of
course,
of course.
So put that back in. We've got plans now for a business network. So rather than going out and saying, hey, will you sponsor our shirt? It's a case of, here's things we can offer you. And if they benefit your business, then we can generate money for the club or help us build these changing rooms. So there's a definitely a long-term view. We've got a 5-year plan that we're working through. This was year one, but obviously,
of course,
it knocks your development, as you know. But we've achieved almost everything we set out to achieve, which is pretty good. To be honest. So.
Yeah, it looks pretty good. And to be fair, you got a little bit now. I want to talk about your kits. Now, I've said this to Owen. I said this to Owen the other day. Your goalkeeper kit is unreal. I love it. I'm going to pre-order it. I realised tomorrow is the deadline, and I'm going to pre-order it. Honestly, mate, whose idea was that? Because that was unreal.
Do you know what? So we've been working with another brand, and it hadn't worked out because the turnaround times were ridiculous.
Right.
Just crazy. It's taken some players a whole season to get their kit. And you think, what's the point? So we wanted to work with somebody who was UK based, who could do something different, especially around our carbon footprint, because we know if we do a new kit, not only are we going to get 50 people buying it who aren't playing for us, but also going to get another 70 people buying it who are playing for us. There's a lot of kit. We have to go through it every 3 years. So can we do it in a more environmentally sound way? And Hope and Glory, who we're working with, do that themselves. They create the kit out of recycled bottles. So we thought that's just ideal. They're based in the UK, so it cuts down on your kind of flights and so on. Or, you know what I mean, like carbon footprint.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, it's sending packaging, all of that stuff.
Completely, yeah. And we were seeing they'd done some really nice designs. So we said, look, let's see what they come up with. So the home kit turned out to be a bit of a no-brainer because that's the traditional colours we supply, which is depending on your reports, it's either yellow or orange or something like that, or gold.
Yeah.
Or it's with black stripes. There's always been the black stripes, but then it's also either pink or purple. So we've hedged our bets because there's a Pantone colour called FC1859, right? So we have found 1859. We're a football club. There was a UNICEF fundraiser. You could buy that colour. So we bought that colour. So that's the Wanderers colour. It's FC1859. And essentially the home kit, like I said, everyone who saw it was like, oh, brilliant. This is great because we're going back to our kind of original colours.
Yeah.
With the keeper kit, I said, look, I really want something a bit different. I've seen a lot of street art because I live not too far from Croydon, and a lot of the players are kind of South London borders of Lambeth and Croydon, and I've seen there's a lot of really good street art, and so I said, we should just do something like that. That'd be amazing if we can get kind of clearance. So I was working on that on one hand, and on the other hand, Hope and Glory went, well, we've got a couple of ideas. What do you think about these? And they fired some out, and there was a couple I absolutely loved, but I'm in the minority because I like a bit of a wild kit, right?
Yeah.
What they sent through with the tiger on the front, I said I love it, but let me just check with our goalkeepers, for the men's team.
Yeah.
Because at the time we're thinking, well, I'm not sure if the women's team want to do a new kit or not. I'm not sure what the situation is. So I asked the men's goalkeeper, and he went, right, how about this, this, and this? Made the changes, and that's what came out. So there's a little bit of a collaboration.
Wow.
The only issue we've got is with that kit, you can't have, our women's keepers, there's nowhere in wearing that. Look where the eyes are. And I was like, yeah, okay, fine. We'll change it so you got something else to wear, because that'd be a bit weird. But yeah, the kit is really lively, and we're really happy with it. And the great thing is I got like a short sleeve goalkeeper kit as well, like a bit of a Fabian Barthez type thing.
Yeah.
So that option's there as well, which is great. But what's really nice about it is you can buy it and wear it as a normal football shirt. Because I think it splits opinion, but when I'm wearing a football shirt now, because I thought it's the right thing to do.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, of course.
But I could never bring myself to wear a goalkeeper kit. That's weird. Can you imagine popping the shops?
Yeah, in your keeper kit, everyone will be like,
especially like the pads on the shoulders and stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, but no, what he's come up with is great. So I really love the design. I think it's one of those things where you want to make a bit of a. I think you want to make a song and dance about kit nowadays, because so many people are actually really, really into it.
Yeah.
100%.
If you want to give someone something that's different and kind of interesting, if you just go with the same old stuff, it's not appealing. Like, I don't know if you guys have seen the New England kits that are really coming out. There's like the home one's like just like a white one with a badge on it, and the away one's like a kind of blue thing. But they're just so boring. Like, there's nothing in.
Yeah. I agree. There's a lot of future kits that you said that are just like, our club Forest of Adidas. 3 years in a row, it was just badge, Adidas, stripes. Every year, just the same thing. It's like there's nothing different about it. Yeah. And like, if a team, like, I don't know, if Man U or something came out with that goalkeeper kit, that would fly out. Honestly.
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna get that, because that goalkeeper kit is unreal. Like I said to him, I was like, for lower league, that's unreal.
Yeah. Well, the good thing is as well is that, because for most teams, I mean, we've always done things a bit differently. For most teams, I've played for a couple of teams relatively recently where you basically turn up on the Saturday or Sunday, and the coach puts a bin bag for the kit in the middle of the change room. They go, right, dig in, and you pull out a couple of socks that are roughly the same size. You pull out what shirt you can get.
Yeah.
If you turn late, you're getting the really, really small one. And I've never liked that, because whilst it's good on one hand, because you always have 1 to 11, right? And the issue you have is you're relying on someone being the mug to wash up all the kit every single week.
Yeah.
And if you try and do a rota, somebody's getting lost. Someone's going to forget. It always happens. So what I've always said is the players buy their own kit. There's our membership fees are like minimal.
Yeah. So
this year we're changing completely, because last year we said, or the year before last, we said, right, you've got to buy a new kit. So your new kit is, I think it was 60 quid for a shirt, shorts and socks. And then it's £5 for training and £10 for matches, and that's your lot. When it came to the following year, I said, right, if you've already got kit, it's only a tenner to renew, and then obviously you pay if you play as you play. What we've decided is that is financially, that's fine, but you're requiring players to spend, a lump sum on kit straight away.
Yeah.
That can sometimes put people off, And also you're asking people at the very beginning of the year you'll buy a kit. And they're like, yeah, but I don't know if I'm going to stick around. We had a player, a German guy played this season, really, really amazing player, who's emigrated to the Ukraine. So you're like, well, there's no point in him buying a kit. So you
of course,
have a few in the bag, yeah. So what we're doing now is thanks to Hope and Glory, we're going to have an online shop, so you can basically buy what you need, and it goes straight to you, cutting out that time delay. You can order what you need when you need it. So if I've lost my socks, just buy another pair. And also we're going to make it so it's just £10 a month, and that covers your training, however many sessions you turn up to. So a bit like a Netflix really subscription. Just because one of the big issues you've got as a grassroots club is nobody ever wants to be treasurer. It's a nightmare. It's the most unlikely role. People want to be social secretary. People want to be the manager. That's fine. No one wants to manage the books. Yeah.
No, not at all.
Yeah. So if we've got a club account and you can pay your money straight into it, then it's sorted. You can basically print off the accounts. Like, there you go. That's it. So that solves a lot of problems for us doing like a subscription like that. Yeah.
That's really good.
I kind of went off the topic of shirts.
No.
It's absolutely fine.
Obviously, like you said, you seem one thing I've seen I rate about the club and what you're doing is you tend to put like the community and the players first, don't you? And I really rate that. Like, was that always been the plan in the back of your mind, just to make sure the people and the players come first?
Yeah, I think when I first started out, I got into football quite late. So my experience of football is from 14 years old, being told push up, jog back, and that's it. That's the coaching I got.
Yeah.
Just running like kind of aimlessly. And I played football, and it was fun as a kid. But if I wasn't playing it, it was not something that really would have bugged me. But then as I got older, I thought, well, if I'm going to do this properly, and you want to draw people in, I don't think it's fair to say, well, you've got to pay, like some clubs, you've got to pay 250 quid and you can play matches if you picked. That's it.
Yeah.
That just seems like it's a rip-off, but also I'm giving up my Saturday, like pretty much the whole day. And obviously you want to socialise and you might have friends there already, but if you don't, why should you make that commitment? So I've always had in my head, what is the benefit that we can offer players if they've paid a tenner to play? What do they get for that?
Mm-hmm.
You played. I came at it from a very a different perspective, not of one who's played football a lot, and so then go, well, you're playing a match, that should be enough. I always thought, what else we give? So before it became compulsory, we already had personal injury insurance, for example. And we'd already said right at the outset, after you hit certain levels, you deserve to get reward. So if you see behind me there, there you go. There you go. Kind of get that little badge. Is like a wooden plaque, and you get that once you've played 50 appearances. And then just there, hang on, that way. It's like a little hat, as we do like a little cap. So once you've had 100 appearances, you get a cap, like you get from like you play for England, you get an England cap, right?
Yeah.
So we've always thought about how we can be giving people something that's more than just what you get anywhere else, because otherwise they just go anywhere else.
Yeah, of course.
We have players who travel, like we've had players traveling to play the games from St Albans. Like, bear in mind, we play in south of South London. You have players traveling from all over the capital. So when we get told by a team, let's say, oh, we've got to play a game, you've got to rearrange your fixture because the pitch is off, let's say. All right, fine. We'll I remember in the first few years, we said, no, we'll book Regent's Park. And they were like, God, that's miles away. And I was like, it's only about an hour from Brixton. What's the problem? Because to me, an hour wasn't a big deal. But for them, it was like, oh, we'll never be able to get there because we're all driving, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, I mean, just get the tube then. Like, that's the problem solved. So, for our players, because they know they get more than just playing football, their contributions financially go towards our charity partner. So you have that as well as, the kind of ethos that we've created. So you get kind of more out of it than most clubs, definitely. So there's the playing, there's the charity side, there's the potential to earn, the cap and the shield. There's the chance to, play for a team that's won the FA Cup. It's amazing. It's kind of, even if you're skeptical about us, or even if you think, well, I don't really follow the FA Cup, whatever, it's a nice thing to be able to talk about, and it sort of adds something to that experience that someone has. And again, it's as we're all looking, I think we're all looking at it from different kind of lenses now. You think things in the world shouldn't be the same after coronavirus than they were before, right?
Yeah.
In lots and lots of ways. And I think for football as well, things cannot carry on as they have been, and I'd like to think that we're a very, 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 very tiny part of football, right? We know that we're one of 450,000 clubs in the UK or something stupid like that. Well, maybe it's 45,000, I might be exaggerating, but it's a big number, right?
Yeah.
Well, we can only control what we can control. So let's look at what can we do in our little bubble that makes us more of a difference, does something that's more of a difference and makes more of a difference than your normal football club. So that's our kind of approach, and whatever we try and do has to follow that. And if that means, for example, a player turns up late and we say, turn around and go home, you're not playing because you're late. Well, we're gonna have to start doing that because that's how it should be. Yeah, and you can't really, we need to raise our standards, because not just for this idea of, we're setting a standard everyone has to follow, which is not realistic and a bit arrogant, but we need to raise a standard for ourselves. If we want to have the best possible experience playing football, it needs to be the best possible experience. If we don't quite achieve it, if it's still an 8 out of 10, well, that's still better than you might get it somewhere else. So,
yeah, of course.
yeah, that's kind of a core principle, really.
But no, it's really good, man. And I want to talk about the hashtag you have on Twitter, the World's Club. What's the meaning behind that, or what's reasons behind that?
Well, when we started out on Twitter, we didn't, you sort of like most people, like, retweet, whatever.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Try and build a bit of a following. And we had one of our players came there, proud to wander. We started using that as that's quite nice. It's quite a nice hashtag to use. And then it became a variety, loads of other stuff, I'm sure. But the idea of the World's Club was that we realised over the course of 2009 to now, we've had over 50 different nationalities playing for the club. So you've got we're a really cosmopolitan part of the world. We've got a really cosmopolitan makeup of our players. We've always been really welcoming to people. You don't really think about their nationality up front, but whenever people turn up, we're always very welcoming.
Yeah.
We'll always try and, at the end of a training session, everyone shakes hands to everybody. Everybody says, have a good, session, or, you try and be polite in the right way. Because you're going to end up shouting at someone for something later on.
Yeah.
Swear you idiot. But you kind of know there's you bookend it by being a nice human being. And I think part of that was the idea of the World's Club is Wanderers as a concept is quite liberal, quite open, and it's evolved. So back in the original Wanderers, it was the first club that let you join no matter what school you'd been to, as opposed to most clubs were like, you can only come to this school, as this club, you've been in this school, right?
Yeah,
so
that makes sense.
Although in a very, very kind of still elitist way, it was quite open.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we have to be open, because that's the right thing to do. You think about how many great footballers have been rejected. I'm a Spurs fan. I remember Spurs had Des Walker on trial before he was big, and I think he wanted a bit more money to pay for his bus fare, and they said, "Right, you're cut, you're gone."
Yeah.
Yeah, and he went to Forest and was like a legend.
We love him. We love him.
Yeah, and Spurs had so Graham Souness played on loan at Spurs for 28 minutes in a friendly in Iceland, and then we're like, he's never going to be anything. And then he goes and wins everything with Liverpool. So all these examples of players who you haven't been made to feel welcome or been treated the right way. So I think that's the World's Club is a concept that it relates to our international like playing base. It keeps us, I guess, in the front of our mind about how we should conduct ourselves as club members. And also we've been on tour all around Europe. So we've been to, I'm not going to put this in the right order, but Czech Republic, Poland, Portugal, Spain, Bulgaria, Romania, Hungary. I'm missing one. That'll do. Yeah, quite a few. And so we always do these summer tours, except for this year, obviously. And part of that is because we also got this idea that Wanderers as a name, because they were so successful, led to other clubs taking on the name. So obviously in the UK, there's plenty, but we've got a lot of followers on Facebook for some reason from Chile because of Santiago Wanderers, and from Uruguay from Montevideo Wanderers. There's Wanderers in like almost every country. There's Halifax started recently in Canada. We've got a partner club who have renamed themselves Wanderers in Ghana. So we've got all these little kind of links to other countries because of the name and the success that the original team had. Yeah. And so it felt like it was the right thing to do, is to sort of not take ownership of that in any kind of facetious way, but to try and say, well, actually, it's the Wanderers name as a concept is very global. And so there's lots of reasons why it sort of felt like the right. I mean, hashtag is, let's be honest, minor. So like, if a club doesn't have a hashtag, no one cares, But it's something that we've tried to use and tried to embed in our culture. And I think that's the one thing that most clubs don't have. And one thing that if you play Saturday League or Sunday League, a lot of clubs either have a culture dependent on the manager or on the kind of most important player.
Yeah.
For us, we've said no. There's a club culture, right? And so, regardless of who's the manager, regardless of who's playing, these are our expectations. This is how we behave. And obviously that's evolved, as it has to. We've always decided we've got to have an ethos that players are like 100% on board with, or you can't build a team. So that hashtag itself is probably a little bit of window dressing compared to what's going on behind the scenes to really make that something that we can be like, everyone feels like they can belong to.
No, I think it's a great idea. Like I said,
100%.
when we were looking for clubs to do the podcast, this was like perfect. Like a lot of lower league footballs in your tiers are just there to play football, but with your story, there's a backstory, and it's clear to me now, especially I have to speak to you now, that it's more than just football with you and your club.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, and I think you know, I look at a lot of other sports for examples. I look at you know, in our country we don't really have it. But if you look at Real Madrid and Barcelona, for example, or teams certainly in Germany, where they have the name of the town, let's say, but then they've got loads of different bits. They've got football, but they've got rugby and cricket and bowling and F1 and who knows what else, right? So all these other sports that are part of it, and it becomes something like there'll be a sports centre, if you like, that people go to and they socialise. And even if they're not playing, or even if they're not there to participate, they're there to support, and it's like a communal thing. And what's great about that is it encourages both this idea of social cohesion, so we're coming together. It breaks down barriers, so that people who feel like, oh, I can't socialise with that person, well, why not? You are now. You're in. You know,
of course.
Football's a meritocracy, right? If you're a good enough player, you play. It doesn't matter if you're rich or poor, if you're disabled or able-bodied. Doesn't matter. Almost, you know, gender obviously is a factor, but no matter how old you are, you're in that team, right? So for me, that would be the long-term goal. Because like Saracens have got a rugby union team, obviously. They've also got a netball team, and they've only done the other 2, so there's not really a lot. But it starts you thinking, well, hang on, if you've got a really good like community location and engagement, you can start doing that. So if you've like Real Madrid and Barcelona have got, you know, very successful basketball teams, handball teams, obviously football teams, you know, in every kind of category. So from, you know, under 5s all the way to vets, male and female, you know, able-bodied and disabled teams. And for me, that's where we want to head to eventually. So on one hand, on the pitch, it's about, can we get the men's and women's teams in the FA Cup? That would be incredible.
Of course,
you know, behind the scenes, the sort of things we're doing in terms of, I mentioned the pitch development, but in terms of the club development, it's, well, we would love to bring on board a Sunday League team. We'd love to bring on board a netball team. We'd love to bring clubs in, so under that Wanderers umbrella, they can benefit from our kind of collective strength.
Yeah.
And that would be amazing, because I think that what that does is makes sport at the core, at the heart of the community again, whereas now it's the other way around. So I look at, we're very close to Crystal Palace, and they actively engage in the community quite a lot. I know Fulham do, and I know that, you know, Tottenham have recently started that. But a lot of teams are doing it's again, it's window dressing. You know, the first people get furloughed in an emergency are the ones who are working on the community outreach programs, the ones who are in the marketing, the ones who are doing, you know, working in the shops. That's not particularly community minded, is it? So for us, it's if we brought together people who enjoy a sport or a pastime or a hobby or whatever, and it becomes a bigger club, then it's not about necessarily being like a brand, but it's about being relevant. Like, how are you relevant in someone's life? If you're not relevant, then they're never going to ever support you when you are in tough times. They're never ever going to find ways to, you know, come and visit you. So our goal has to be about being relevant, and that's kind of another thing to think about when it comes to the club separate from the team.
Yeah, no, that sounds good. On my last note, obviously, I think we already know your plan for the future, like you've just said. But quick, how many tiers are you away from being able to go into the FA Cup? I'm not sure how it works down there. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. So the way it works is let's say we're level 15, right? Yeah. We have to get to level 10 and 11 to apply to get to the Vars, I think it is.
The FA Vars. Yeah.
Yeah. You can't be in the FA Cup unless you've had at least one season in the Vars or trophy, right? So my view is, if we can get up to that level where we're secure, let's say but I think it'll be like step 10 to 12, yeah, then we can get into the Vars and trophy or whatever, and potentially play 1 or 2 seasons in that if we're lucky, you know. And if we've done that, then I'm kind of hoping we're good enough to qualify for the qualifying rounds of the FA Cup, right? That would be fine. because then there's no question over it. You know, the backup plan is always to go, oh, but you know, we did win it 150. Well, it would have been the 150th FA Cup is actually the 160th anniversary because there was a gap for the World Wars.
Course,
so it'd be a case of going, oh, well, we did, you know, we won it 160 years ago. We could see your way to let us in. So there's that, but I'd rather not have to play on that. I'd rather we just actually there.
Yeah, I'd rather do it yourself.
Totally, yeah. So I think it's probably between 3 and 5 promotions to be at that level. So it's not. It's, you know, it's frustratingly, it's close, so close that we know we could, you know, probably do quite well. And we know from having conversations with our league, because our league is 4 junior levels, 3 intermediate and 1 elite, right? And then it goes into just football. So
yeah.
I think having spoken to them, we know that there are teams at higher levels than us in those intermediate leagues that are, you know, on the pitch, you know, we're on a par, but they have the facilities, or they have, you know, they've not been at risk of dropping down a level. And equally, there are teams, you know, like Sunday League teams, I would say, who at the moment are doing, like, like when I played Sunday League when I was 18, 19 or something, it was garbage, pure garbage. Like, genuinely, you would be lucky to get 11. Like, everything you can, all the cliches were true.
100%. Yeah.
So we got to a cup final, which resulted in, I think it was the police had to come to the pub to break up the fights, and I'm just there like, this is not for me. This is not my kind of crowd. So, but what's happening now is you're seeing a lot of Sunday League players taking Sunday League seriously and playing Sunday League at a good level. And what's great is that that just shows that the football clubs are developing and progressing. And if those players who play on Sundays ever want to play Saturday with us, we know that some of them can help us get up those levels. For them, they can achieve, you know, the sort of, I think the for some cases the YouTube fame, or it might be the you know, the friends that they play with, or it could be the, you know, the freedom of playing however they want to play on Sunday. But then if they want to come and play it and get themselves up to those other levels, then we're not that far off, you know. Once we get the ground, there's no ground grading. We do need the changing rooms. So once we get that sorted, I think we're, you know, I look at our squad makeup, and I've, you know, said this a lot to our team. I've said, look, we only need to recruit 2 or 3 players for the first, who are going to just push them up a little bit. Maybe another 3 or 4 for the twos, who are just going to help solidify that core, because you've got a core of probably 6 or 7, and you really want that to be 9 or 10. And that will make all the difference. And again, for the women's team, they've got a very good core of 6 or 7. They probably need 3 or 4 just to be really solid, because, you know, as players yourselves, you know, you can have a core of 6, but if 1 or 2 aren't there and your core is 4, you're in trouble. Then you've got a load of kind of floaters, you know, sort of turn up one week and maybe not the next. So that's for us, that's the next on pitch step, is to get another couple of players who are just going to push us on a bit more. And, you know, really, you know, ideally we get enough 4 or 5 to come into the ones that drop a couple of those fringe players down, which boosts the 2s, and then, you know, you keep going, because I don't think any club can have a really strong 1s without a 2s that is, you know, pretty good. Because if you run training sessions, we do 2 training sessions a week, and you want to have players that are there. You can't do it if you just go, well, I only have the first team and it's 10 players this week, because that's no good. You need to have, even if they're not brilliant, you need to have more bodies there to make a better experience. Because I mean, if you guys are, you know, paying $5 to go and play training with us, well, you want to have a good session, and part of that is testing yourselves and pushing your abilities and feeling that, you know, your fitness improve. But also, you might want to show off against some not so good players. So that's why.
Definitely. Well, I think from me now, thank you for coming on. We love the story.
Great. Thank you.
I'm definitely going
to just wang on a bit, you know.
No, it's fine, mate. I'm definitely going to keep a kit. Next season, me and Owen are looking to go to like new grounds, so we're definitely going to come down and check you out.
Absolutely.
But thank you for coming on, man, and we appreciate it.
My pleasure. Good to speak to you.
Thank you guys for watching. Make sure you hit that like button. Also, all the socials for their team will be all in the descriptions. Go check them out. Great club. And yeah, thanks for watching, guys.